Live TV tends to capture everything. When the cameras roll, every second is raw, real, and unfiltered. These broadcasts were never meant to end the way they did.
You hear me?
But millions watched as a reporter ran for her life, a mother who took revenge for her daughter, and other unexpected moments. You're about to see the darkest moments ever captured in TV history. In 1981, cameras were rolling during what looked like a typical day in a German courtroom, until Maryanne Bachmeier made history in a way no one saw coming. She was there for the trial of the man accused of taking her 7-year-old daughter's life. But instead of just sitting through it, Maryanne pulled a small pistol from her bag and right in front of everyone, emptied the clip. It all happened so fast that even security couldn't react in time. The video you're watching is a reconstruction of what happened and not actual footage. Later, when asked why she did it, Maryanne said, "I wanted to him. I wanted to him in the face, but I only got his back." That one sentence said everything: grief, rage, and vengeance. Held hostage. The morning of February 8, 1977, Anthony "Tony" Curitzis, a 44 real estate developer, entered the office of Richard O. Hall, the then president of the Meridian Mortgage Company, and took him hostage with a sawed-off 12-gauge. Tony wired it to Hall's neck with a dead man's switch from the trigger to his own neck. Tony forced Hall out of the building and through downtown streets in near 0-degree weather, the entire walk surrounded by police and journalists. He then commandeered a police car and took Hall to drive to his Crestwood Village apartment. Tony told police the apartment was rigged and then chained Hall in the bathroom, holding Hall captive for nearly 63 hours. Tony had purchased a 17-acre West Side property in hopes of developing a shopping center. His $130,000 mortgage with Meridian Mortgage was due on March 1st, 1977, and he accused the company of having deliberately sabotaged his project. Undercover Fallout.
Roger Cook's director took a few blows as well, and Roger himself is now recovering from 3 cracked ribs.
In 1981, BBC journalist Roger Cook exposed a fake antiques ring in a televised investigation. But as he confronted the dealer involved, the situation escalated without warning. The man reacted with force, engaging Cook with a metal object during the confrontation. Despite the impact and rising tension, Cook refused to back down. His decision to keep questioning in the middle of danger turned a routine report into one of the most gripping live moments in British TV history.
Just to remind you again, if you do have any doubts about that tempting little ivory carving, just ask the dealer if he'd mind you giving it a jab with a red-hot needle.
Tightrope Fall. Isakire, a famous acrobat in China, tried to walk across a tightrope blindfolded, backwards, and without any safety gear. It was a huge challenge, 700 meters long and way up in the air. He was close to the end when strong wind and dizziness made him lose balance. Everyone watched as he slipped and fell into the trees below. People were sure it was over, but somehow he survived. The trees broke his fall. It was a scary moment, but also one that nobody could forget. Shocking moment. A reporter in Seattle arrived at a park expecting to cover a regular news story, but before cameras could roll, he witnessed a man being in need of help just a few feet away. Without hesitation, he ran in and pulled the suspect off the person. Bystanders called emergency services, and the victim received immediate care. The suspects had already disappeared by the time police arrived. Spirit possessed. It started as a normal talk show segment until something strange began to happen. Thai model Thipawan Chapupuang, while being interviewed live in July 2016, suddenly froze. She claimed that during a trip to Rayong, she was followed back by something not human, a ghost, known in Thai folklore as a pop, a spirit said to crave raw meat. Moments later, her voice changed, her body tensed. She demanded pig's blood. The host stayed calm, trying to reach her, but nothing worked until someone placed a Buddha necklace on her. The second it touched her skin, everything stopped.
ไปไหม ทำไมออกไม่ได้
Game gone wrong. During a soccer game in Ethiopia, things got out of hand fast. The referee gave a goal to Defense Force SC, but the other team, Wallo, didn't take it well. Players and coaches ran onto the field, yelling and pushing. The ref tried to protect himself with a corner flag, but one of the coaches still got to him and hit him. That coach was kicked out of the league right away, and the season was put on pause. The whole thing was caught on camera and spread all over the internet. This moment went against everything that the sport stood for. Tour interruption. While Justin Bieber was doing his concert on his Believe tour in Arizona, when something happened to him that made his fans worry about his health, he was walking towards the front of the stage when he turned around, and this happened. The incident happened in front of thousands, leaving fans stunned. He stepped off stage briefly before returning to finish the set. The exact cause was never publicly detailed. On-air outburst.
Hey, Bobcat Goldthwait, you guys will be interested in this, is making news these days, not because of his latest movie or stand-up, but because he's trashing all the late-night talk shows that he seems to be going on.
During a taping of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, a guest appearance by comedian Bobcat Goldthwait took a disturbing turn. In the middle of their segment, he suddenly lit the guest chair on fire. The audience and crew were visibly shaken as the flames rose on set. Jay Leno stayed composed, while Goldthwait exited the stage, slipping on his way out. The show was halted, and NBC responded swiftly. Goldthwait received a fine and was temporarily banned from the network.
What have I set his furniture on fire? No, don't set that on fire. Now you have to sit in this.
Live collision.
Now, in fact, officials say that this street is very dangerous because of the pandemic, and when it started, there have been double the number of traffic collisions. In fact, there was a crime in progress that we caught on camera.
While reporting from a high-risk intersection in Los Angeles, KTLA journalist Gene Kang was covering a recent hit-and-run incident when a new one happened behind him. Just as he warned viewers about the danger at Hoover and 84th Street, two cars drove into each other on live television. One of the drivers immediately fled the scene. The camera kept rolling as Kang and his crew contacted emergency services and helped the people involved. A license plate from the fleeing car was recovered at the scene.
It's one of the most dangerous streets in all of Los Angeles, and now...
Staged confrontation.
Is Andy, are you coming in here again, or?
You're my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your as far as I'm concerned. You hear me?
Everything seemed normal until Jerry Lawler stood up and made TV history. In front of a live audience on Late Night with David Letterman, Lawler slapped Andy Kaufman so hard it echoed through the studio. Kaufman stormed off, then came back furious, throwing insults and even coffee, while Letterman sat frozen, pretending everything was fine. For years, people argued over whether it was real. Turns out, it was all scripted. But nobody told the audience, and their stunned silence said it all.
For station identification, get the hoses out here.
Match collapse. After Vitesse Arnhem's win over NEC Nijmegen, fans in the away section were bouncing with joy. But then, part of the stand under them suddenly dropped. Dozens of fans went down with such a sound that froze the entire stadium. Everyone feared the worst, but surprisingly, and thankfully, almost everyone was fine. A container underneath caught the fall. Once people realized they were safe, the cheers came back even louder. What could have been a disaster turned into a wild story about fans who literally shook the stadium. Courtroom Chaos.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada.
In a Las Vegas courtroom, what started as a sentencing quickly turned into a moment no one saw coming. As Judge Mary Kay Holthus prepared to deliver her decision, Deobra Redden suddenly leapt over the defense table, then launched himself over the judge's bench. What followed looked more like a tackle than a courtroom scene. Officers and attorneys rushed in to pull him off, stunned by the sudden outburst. Despite the chaos, Judge Holthus returned to work the next day, unfazed. Redden, meanwhile, now faces an even longer future in prison. BBQ Breakdown. Family cookouts usually bring people closer, but not when it's the pothasts from 90 Day Fiancé. During what was supposed to be a peaceful backyard gathering, things spiraled the moment Charlie arrived. His jabs at Andre weren't just verbal, they were aimed to provoke him. "Call the cops!"
"Call the cops!"
he taunted, and Andre snapped. The two men lunged at each other, and suddenly, burgers turned into bystanders. Andre managed to pin Charlie in a headlock, while family members and crew rushed to break it up. No arrests were made, but plenty of fallout.
What are you doing?
Stop! 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 Stop!
Live breakdown.
Okay, well, come back to me right now and we'll make sure that, Jessica, you are doing okay.
Jessica Robb was doing a normal news report for CTV Edmonton when things suddenly went wrong. She started mixing up her words and said she wasn't feeling well. You could tell something was off.
I'm not feeling very well right now, and I'm about to...
The screen quickly cut back to the studio, and people watching were left confused and worried. Later, Jessica said it was a personal health issue, and not what some people online were guessing. She's doing okay now, but that moment really showed how live TV can take a turn without warning. Oscar drama.
That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
The 2022 Oscars took an unexpected turn when Will Smith walked onto the stage during the ceremony and confronted Chris Rock, following a comment directed at Jada Pinkett Smith. What began as a scripted moment quickly shifted into something far more serious. The room fell silent as Smith reacted in a way no one had prepared for. He returned to his seat and called out from the audience, with the broadcast airing every second live. He won an Oscar that night, but this action of his overshadowed his own accomplishment.
Oh, wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Courtroom Outburst.
Further investigation, the autopsy report revealed that Mr. Russo did suffer 69 knife wounds to his body.
During a courtroom hearing in Chelsea, Massachusetts, the atmosphere shifted as disturbing details were revealed. Peter DeConnick, 46, stood accused after a confrontation at a trailer home led to serious charges. Prosecutors shared that his friend Ronald Russo had sustained injuries. But all of this overwhelming information pushed Russo's brother, Thomas, to rush toward DeConnick in court. Security intervened quickly, with 4 officers stepping in to de-escalate. Thomas was briefly detained, but released soon after. As for DeConnick, the court later handed down a life sentence. Briefing breakdown.
Can somebody help me?
There was a Pentagon press briefing when the room went from calm to concern in a matter of seconds. Air Force Major General James Martin Jr. was mid-sentence when suddenly something happened to him in front of the cameras. Military aides and staff rushed to assist. The live broadcast quickly cut away while Martin was taken for medical care. Officials later confirmed that he had experienced a sudden drop in BP and was recovering.
You okay? Okay. I'm gonna sit you down.
Concert confusion. During a live performance by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, something unusual caught fans' attention. Flea, the band's bassist, appeared visibly frustrated, and for a moment, many assumed there was a serious issue with the performance. But lead singer Anthony Kiedis soon noticed the real problem. Flea's in-ear monitor had fallen out, disrupting his ability to hear the music clearly. It looked like a major disagreement on stage, and it was all because of a minor technical error, one that completely changed the energy of the performance. Heroic save.
I am not feeling well.
A press conference in Miami took a sudden and serious turn when Florida Senator Ileana Garcia collapsed while delivering remarks on a proposed water fluoridation ban. Then she started to lose balance. But Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo quickly stepped forward, catching her just in time. The entire moment was caught on camera, showing a clear example of someone reacting with immediate focus and calm. Medical staff attended to Garcia, and the event was paused. The incident left many shaken because it is totally unpredictable what can happen in front of anyone.
Hey, we got you.
Unexpected reaction. An intense exchange unfolded during an episode of Love and Hip Hop, New York, when a disagreement between Cardi B and Asia quickly escalated. The conversation started with tension, but within seconds, emotions reached a breaking point. Cardi's response was swift. She removed her heel and threw it across the room. The scene shifted from heated words to full disruption. Crew members and cast stepped in to calm the situation, but the moment left an impression that extended far beyond the show. Fiery broadcast.
Only the second time that he's done that. The previous time was almost exactly 12 months ago when England played Wales.
What began as standard pre-match coverage quickly turned into a serious incident during the Andorra versus England game. While Sky Sports was reporting live from the stadium, a sudden fire broke out near the broadcasting area. Flames were seen rising as staff and reporters reacted quickly to the situation. The match itself became a secondary concern as emergency crews stepped in to contain the fire. No one expected a sports broadcast to be interrupted by a safety emergency.
This is quite a big incident that's happening live that's just been pointed out to me. They're trying to deal with it as we speak to you right now.
Feed glitch.
You're watching the news channel with the time at 3:46 a.m. Reporter Greg Parrish is now in our studio.
On the Armstrong and Miller Show, a live news segment spun out fast. The anchor was in the studio, the reporter on a satellite feed, but the delay between them turned everything upside down. While the reporter waited, staring silently into the camera, the anchor started pulling faces and making gestures. The timing was completely off. By the time the reporter replied, they looked totally disconnected. The whole segment became one long, awkward pause.
I do apologize. We seem to have a rather long delay on the line. Simple misunderstanding, Greg. It's the little thing known as a satellite delay.
Yes, I do have a result here from the election. The polls have closed.
On air clash.
There's nobody on overtime. There's nobody working on the weekends. There's a lot that could be done to have this done a lot sooner.
On July 19th, 2001, Good Day New York took a sharp turn on live TV. Reporter Dick Oliver was out in the field when anchor Jim Ryan suddenly interrupted him in the middle of the report, calling out his delivery in front of the entire audience. Oliver fired back immediately. The two started arguing live right there on air. The host tried to keep things moving, but the tension didn't go unnoticed. Viewers watched it all unfold with no cutaway.
If I have to teach you how to be a reporter, Ollie, I'll do that later.
Oh, why don't you do that later, Jim? I think the lady expressed herself. You're not here, you're there. Is there any question you'd like me to ask her?
Whitney's Pause. It happened in the middle of a live concert, right when Whitney Houston was at full power. She suddenly turned her face toward the side, just for a second. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but that one moment had fans online frozen. People replayed the clip again and again, looking for answers. Was it a reaction? A signal? No one knew. And yet, she kept singing, like nothing ever happened. What do you think this was? Share your theories in the comments below. Skyline Fall. A performer stood on a wire suspended between two hot air balloons, floating far above the ground. Cameras zoomed in. The crowd held their breath. He began to walk, slow and steady, but halfway through, things changed. His balance wavered. For one long second, it looked like he might recover. He didn't. Viewers watched as he dropped from the wire. Thankfully, safety measures were in place, and he was soon seen standing again. The fall was fast, but the fear it left behind stayed longer. Forgotten lines. At just 16 years old, Tamara Foster stepped onto the X Factor UK stage with full confidence and a strong presence that had the audience waiting for something big. But as the music began and the first line approached, she froze completely, unable to remember the lyrics to the song she had prepared. The camera caught everything as she stood quietly, unsure of what to do, before slowly turning around and walking off the stage. For a moment, it felt like that was the end of her performance. But then she came back. Without any explanation, she picked up exactly where she left off, finishing the rest of the song.
Take me forward.
Edge of Falls. He stood at the edge of Niagara Falls, water crashing just inches away, and the only thing holding him back was his foot, jammed into a crack in the rock. In 2003, tourists watched in shock as a 59-year-old man clung to the ledge of Horseshoe Falls, completely still, soaking wet and surrounded by mist. He had just lost everything at a casino and was drowning in debt. But even as freezing water pounded his body, he wouldn't let go. For nearly 2 hours, emergency teams battled wind and cold to reach him. One rescuer finally jumped in and pulled him to safety. Closed door clash.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning. Sure. First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
It was meant to be a high-level meeting. President Zelensky visiting the White House for strategic talks. But what happened behind closed doors didn't follow the script. The mood changed fast when Trump slammed the table, accusing Ukraine of playing a dangerous game.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Zelensky didn't back down. Voices rose. Even VP J.D. Vance stepped in.
No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Questioning Ukraine's tone and asking for more gratitude.
It'll be a tough deal to make because the attitudes have to change.
The energy in the room got sharper by the minute, and before things could cool off, Trump stood up and ended it. He told the Ukrainian team to leave.
All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right, we'll see what we can do about putting it together.
Besties break. When Abby and Lisa, better known as Ablisa, walked onto the X Factor stage in 2010, they looked like two inseparable best friends ready to live their dream. But 5 minutes in, everything changed. Their singing fell apart almost instantly, but it didn't stop there. They argued with the judges. The crowd turned silent, and right in the middle of the audition, their friendship cracked on live TV. Abby turned to Lisa, and this shocking moment happened. The judges were stunned. So was the audience. It was a performance no one could forget, even if they wanted to. Pitch invasion. Reading FC's home match against Port Vale was barely 16 minutes in when the field transformed into a protest zone. Fans stormed the pitch by the hundreds, not to celebrate a goal, but to send a message. Their anger was aimed at club owner Da Yongi, who many blamed for the team's declining finances. Warnings had gone out. Loudspeakers asked them to stop. but the crowd held their ground. Eventually, the match was abandoned. Some in the stands cheered, others shook their heads. What was meant to be a football game became a televised standoff, and fans made sure the cameras caught every second of it. On-air collapse.
Worries today for a veteran sportscaster who had a scary medical emergency on live TV, and we should warn you, the video's upsetting.
What started as normal commentary during an Atlanta Hawks game turned serious in seconds. Veteran announcer Bob Rathbun was mid-sentence when he suddenly leaned back, his body trembling in front of the live camera. Viewers were stunned, unsure if it was part of the show.
Look for this kid to have a really good first hand.
Turns out it wasn't. Someone quickly rushed in, and the feed cut away. Later, it was revealed that Bob had passed out from dehydration. Thankfully, quick medical attention helped him recover.
The statement also says Rathbun is now stable and responsive.
Insensitive Interview.
What do you think of the obvious parallels being made between you and Iron Man?
At this point, it's natural, but if you'd asked me in the first Iron Man, I'd be like, "That's me." And now I've realized that, of course, it's not.
What started as a typical promo interview took an unexpected turn. In 2015, Robert Downey Jr. sat down to talk Avengers: Age of Ultron, but the questions started going in a very different and rude direction.
The reason I'm asking about the past is that you've talked in other interviews again about your relationship with your father and the role of all of that in the dark periods you went to and taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether, you think you're free of all of that?
I really don't. What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions, that's all.
Right.
The interviewer brought up Downey's past, addiction, jail time, and family. At first, RDJ tried to steer it back with charm, but the interviewer did not stop. So he finally just stood up, gave a polite nod, and walked out.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Robert didn't show any anger or even tried to engage with someone like him. He just left the building. Do you think the reporter was asking the right questions?
Do you...
You see what? Okay, it's just getting a little dinosaur in your...
No, look, I don't want to do that.
Thank you.
Water war. In the middle of a live political debate in Georgia, things got weird fast. 1 second, Zaza Agladze was arguing his point. The next, he tossed a glass of water straight at his opponent, Irakli Glanti. Without missing a beat, Glanti threw his own drink back. What was meant to be a serious discussion turned into a live splash fight, complete with broken chairs and soaked clothes. The cameras stayed on just long enough to catch the chaos. Disorder in court.
How common is it to have attacks or threats like this in a courtroom?
Attacks like this, these emotional, impromptu acts of violence occur probably daily in courtrooms across the country.
A sentencing hearing in Albuquerque suddenly spiraled out of control. A family member in the gallery, overcome with emotion, jumped over the courtroom barrier and rushed the defendant. Within seconds, the courtroom fell into chaos as security and staff worked to separate them. The judge remained at her bench, watching the scene unfold. Order was eventually restored, but the moment left a lasting impact on everyone in the room. Stage shock.
I don't mean to brag, I don't care, but I want you to know, double vaxxed, booster, flu shot.
Comedian Heather McDonald was delivering her set in Tempe, Arizona, when things took a sudden turn. Just after landing a joke, she collapsed on stage without warning.
Seriously, so nice, so nice.
At first, the audience thought it was part of the act, but as the seconds passed, concern grew. Staff rushed to her aid, and the performance was halted. Later, Heather shared the footage and confirmed it had been a medical scare. Though she recovered, that moment on stage was a powerful reminder of how quickly everything can change. Talent disrupted.
You were terrible. And I thought it was... I was actually not terrible. You were absolutely terrible.
During a live taping of America's Got Talent, 2 performers stepped on stage, but their act never began. Before the music could even start, tension between them transformed into a physical confrontation. Judges looked on in shock as security rushed to separate the pair.
Excuse me?
Don't.
Oh my God.
The performance was immediately canceled, and the taping cut short. For a show known for high-energy acts and emotional stories, this moment stood out for all the wrong reasons. A live broadcast derailed before it even had a chance to begin. Broadcast mayhem. A live political talk show in Moldova quickly spiraled beyond debate. Gennady Kosovan, former Vice Minister of Internal Affairs, and Sergei Tofalat, once a presidential advisor, exchanged sharp words until the discussion turned physical. Without warning, Kosovan threw water across the table. Tofalat stood up and responded with a punch that sent Kosovan falling from his chair. The entire incident played out on live television, with stunned viewers watching in real time. Zlatan Speaks. After his final game for Ajax in 2003, Zlatan Ibrahimovic stood in front of the press, sweaty and smiling, while a kid in the crowd chanted his name. But that warm moment didn't last long. A reporter pressed him with questions, hinting that Zlatan was too confident, too self-absorbed.
You played so well today, and your behavior, and you were so easy and so relaxed today. It was true, no?
Without hesitation, Zlatan replied back. He didn't flinch, didn't lower his voice. He made it clear. He knew exactly who he was.
No, I don't agree. I was playing also normal against Holland, and today I play also normal, so there's only one Zlatan.
It wasn't an outburst. It was a message. Long before he became a global name, this moment showed the world he wasn't looking for approval, just space to rise. Handshake Chaos.
They sweep the season series against Incarnate Word.
The game had already gone into overtime, but no one expected what happened after the final buzzer. As Texas A&M Commerce lined up to shake hands with Incarnate Word, something shifted. Tempers boiled over. Within seconds, players were throwing punches. The handshake line turned into a full-blown scuffle in front of a stunned crowd. A team staff member and even a fan ended up in the hospital. The league responded fast, handing out 8 suspensions and demanding public apologies from both schools. Courtroom Twist.
He appeared on TV as a bailiff on a long-running judge show. Now the tables have turned, and he's found himself on the other side of the law. The Texas sheriff's deputy has now been charged with his own wife.
Renard Spivey was once known as the calm, controlled bailiff on TV court shows. But in 2019, the story flipped. His wife, Patricia, was found at home and required immediate medical assistance. Spivey claimed it happened during a struggle, but investigators noticed signs that raised questions. Conflicting details, past tension, and a clear size difference. For fans of the show, the news was hard to believe. The case dragged on for years before finally reaching trial in 2023. In the end, the court reached its decision. Spivey was found not guilty, but the questions left behind never fully faded. Speech interrupted. It was supposed to be a routine speech. President Obama addressing the nation about healthcare updates with a row of supporters behind him. But as he spoke, one woman standing behind him began to sway. Something was clearly wrong. Obama noticed, paused mid-sentence, and calmly reached back to steady her.
One illness, There you go. You okay? I'm right here. I got you. Yeah. No, you're okay.
With just a small gesture, he signaled for help. She was guided off stage within seconds. It wasn't dramatic, but the moment struck a chord. Name game.
Jim, good to have you on the show.
Good to be here, Jim. Thank you.
Check that. Chris Everett, good to have you on the show.
You know what? You've been calling me that for about the last 5 years.
About 2 years, actually, Chris.
What started as a lighthearted interview ended in complete silence. Jim Rome kept pushing, calling quarterback Jim Everett Chris Everett over and over.
You may have even been Jim Everett back there, but somewhere along the way, Jim, you ceased being Jim and you became Chris.
Well, let me tell you a little secret. That, we're sitting here right now, and if you guys want to take a station break, you can. But if you call me Chris Everett to my face one more time...
I already did it twice.
You call it one more time, we better take a station break.
Turning the joke into a jab, Everett warned him to stop, but Rome didn't listen. That's when Everett stood up, leaned across the table, and shoved him so hard the desk collapsed.
Chris?
The room froze. The camera kept rolling. Rome was speechless, and Everett walked off without another word. It wasn't just uncomfortable. It was the kind of moment you only see once, where a simple joke goes way too far and changes everything. Balloon flight. It was a colorful sight. A Brazilian priest rising into the sky, tied to a lawn chair and over 1,000 helium balloons. His goal? To break a world record and raise money for truckers. Adelier Antonio De Carli had food, water, radio, even GPS, but he didn't know how to use the GPS. Just 20 minutes in, he was already calling for help. Hours later, he vanished from radar. Days turned into months before he was finally found in the ocean. What began as a hopeful mission slowly turned into silence. Robber returns. Adam Sallet was live on air, standing just outside a Minnesota bank that had been robbed earlier that morning. The broadcast was calm until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, a bank employee ran toward him shouting, "That's him! He's back!"
Just 24 hours ago, this bank in North... That guy right there. What?
That's the robber.
Oh, that's the robber.
The suspect had returned to the scene in the middle of a live report, as if nothing had happened. Sallet pointed off camera, turned, and ran to get help, all while the camera kept rolling. The clip went viral within hours. It wasn't a reenactment. It wasn't staged. The robber had actually come back, just in time to be caught on live TV. Live transformation. The broadcast ended without a hitch, or so it seemed. In a 2018 Spanish news clip, a reporter was finishing his segment when something strange happened. For just a split second, his eyes transformed. And it was not a normal blink, nor a camera glitch. This was an actual reptilian transformation caught on live TV, and this had never happened before. But it only happened to this guy who had just started doing live reporting. Silent takeover. It was supposed to be a routine live segment, but the moment a reporter on Today Show Australia locked eyes with Grumpy Cat, the entire broadcast unraveled. She couldn't hold it in. Laughter kept breaking through the script, no matter how many times she tried to regain control.
Look at that cat. Look at that cat.
Meanwhile, the cat didn't move, just sat there, stone-faced, like it had seen the end of time. Cameras were rolling, but it was Grumpy Cat running the show. One stare, no words, and the whole segment shifted from news to something no one could stop watching. For today's subscribers, pick of the day, we have a recent live TV moment that should never have happened. Australian correspondent Lauren Tomasi was covering the protests happening in downtown LA due to outrage over immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE raids throughout the city. She was describing the scene when something struck her on live television. It was a rubber round and happened mid-report. Her reaction was instant. Despite her initial reaction, Tomasi could be heard saying, "I'm good."
Okay.
I'm good.
And later confirmed to 9 News that she and her cameraman were safe. As of me making this video, no agency has taken responsibility for who was the one that fired. Australia's Department of Foreign Trade said that all journalists should be able to do their work safely.